If Phonak Lyric worked perfectly for everyone, I'd fit it on almost every patient that walks through my door. But I don't, and there's a reason for that.
If you're navigating hearing loss or struggling with ringing in your ears, then you've come to the right place. The All Ears Hearing and Tinnitus podcast is your go-to source for expert insights, real stories, and cutting-edge solutions in hearing health. We'll dive into the latest advancements in hearing healthcare, explore groundbreaking treatments for tinnitus, and offer practical tips for better hearing. Here to help you tune into a world of better hearing, here's your host from Timpanogos Hearing and Tinnitus, Dr. Layne Garrett.
I'm Dr. Layne Garrett, founder of Timpanogos Hearing and Tinnitus in Utah, and I've been evaluating hearing aid technology for over 20 years. The Phonak Lyric is genuinely unlike anything else on the market, but it's also one of the most misunderstood devices I get asked about. So today, I'm going to give you the real story, what makes Lyric remarkable, what makes it fall short, and how to know if you're a good candidate or if you'd be setting yourself up for frustration. So let's start with what we're actually talking about, because Lyric isn't just a small hearing aid, it's a fundamentally different category of hearing aids altogether. Most hearing aids sit behind your ear or just inside the ear canal opening. Lyric is inserted by a trained audiologist all the way into the bony part of your ear canal, just 4 millimeters away from your eardrum, and it stays there for weeks at a time, usually 2 to 3 months before the battery dies and you come in for a replacement. That deep placement is what gives Lyric its actual advantages, and they are real. Because the microphone sits inside your ear canal instead of outside of it, you get the full benefit of your ear's natural anatomy, what audiologists call the pinna effect. Your outer ear was designed over millions of years to help localize sound, funnel it in, and preserve spatial cues. Most hearing aids pick up that sound before anatomy can do its job. Lyric captures it the way your ear was meant to capture it. The result is a sound quality that many patients describe as more natural than other hearing aids that they've tried. No tinny quality, no sense of your own voice bouncing back at you. I've spoken with audiologists whose musicians' patients specifically seek out Lyric because the analog processing of the hearing aid does not interfere with the nuances of music the way that digital hearing aids sometimes can. And the invisibility claim about Lyric, it's real. This isn't the nearly invisible or flesh-colored and hard-to-see hearing aid. The device is deep in your ear canal that no one can see it. Not your spouse, not your boss, not the person looking right at you. I had a patient, a trial attorney, who had been avoiding getting hearing aids for years because he could not stand the idea of his clients seeing them during depositions. The moment I explained how Lyric works, he did not even ask about the price. He just said, "That's the one." For him, invisibility was not vanity, it was a professional necessity, and Lyric delivered. The 24-hour, 7 days a week wearing of the hearing aid is genuinely important for tinnitus management. Think about the pattern that many tinnitus patients live with. During the day, you wear your hearing aids. Your brain gets sound stimulation and tinnitus fades into the background. You're managing it. Then, at night, you take the hearing aids out. Suddenly, your auditory system kind of goes quiet. The tinnitus surges and sleep becomes miserable. That cycle, stimulation during the day, deprivation at night, is one of the hardest things to break in tinnitus treatment. Phonak has published field study data showing that Lyric provides faster tinnitus relief compared to daily wear hearing aids, and that sleep quality specifically improves with continuous nighttime amplification. The mechanism makes sense. Your brain never goes through that nightly period of auditory deprivation that ramps up that tinnitus sound. Now, I want to be honest about the evidence here. The strongest tinnitus outcomes I see in my clinic come from comprehensive treatment plans, hearing aids combined with counseling, sound therapy protocols, and for the appropriate patients, treatments like linear bimodal neuromodulation. Lyric alone is not a complete tinnitus treatment, but for the right patient, the 24-hour, 7 days a week stimulation component is genuinely valuable and something standard hearing aids just don't replicate. So that's the case for Lyric, and it's a real one. But this is where I want to pump the brakes a little bit here because the marketing doesn't cover this part. The first limitation is the technology itself. Lyric does run on an analog chip. That's actually why the battery lasts long enough for extended wear. Analog processing consumes far less power than digital hearing aids. But analog means you don't get the AI-powered noise processing you'd find in a premium digital hearing aid like the Oticon Intent or the Widex Allure. Let me put it in practical terms. If you're in a loud restaurant and your spouse is sitting across the table, A premium AI hearing aid is actively working, trying to separate their speech from the background noise, beamforming toward the person in front of you and suppressing the clatter and the HVAC hum. Lyric gives you a beautiful, natural version of everything in that room. For some people and some environments, that's amazing. For someone who needs to function in demanding noise all day, it's just not enough. A second issue with the Lyric: no Bluetooth. You're not going to be able to take phone calls directly to your ears. You're not connecting with your TV. And I've had more than one patient come back and say, okay, I really like how this sounds, but I miss my Bluetooth. That's a real trade off to consider. Third, and honestly, this disqualifies a lot of people, there are some candidacy restrictions. Lyric only works for mild to moderately severe hearing loss. If your hearing loss is more significant, Lyric cannot provide enough amplification. You also can't have a history of ear infections, active middle ear disease, broken eardrums, immune compromise, or uncontrolled diabetes. The deep insertion requires a very healthy ear canal and skin that can tolerate months of contact with the device. Some patients with sensitive ears simply can't tolerate how it feels even when they want to. Fourth, the subscription model and reliability. You're going to pay around $4,000 a year for the right to have Lyric in your ears. For some patients, that's comparable to financing a premium pair of digital hearing aids, and it covers replacements and follow-up care. So the model does make sense. For others, a recurring annual subscription feels frustrating compared to a one-time purchase of hearing aids. Know which camp you're in before you commit. The Lyric devices can also fail earlier than expected. If your Lyric dies on a Saturday and your audiologist does not have weekend hours, you're without hearing until you can get in on Monday. The newer self-replacement option that was cleared by the FDA helps with this for experienced users, cutting necessary office visits by about in half, but it's worth knowing about before you commit. So given all of that, the real advantages and the real limitations, how do you know if Lyric is worth pursuing? When someone asks me about Lyric, I'm thinking through a fairly specific checklist. You need to have mild to moderately severe hearing loss and ears that are structurally healthy. Your ear canal needs to be the right size and shape for proper insertion. There are 7 sizes of Lyric, but some ear canal anatomies simply just don't accommodate deep placement effectively. If we can't get good insertion, the device won't perform the way it's supposed to. Beyond anatomy, I'm thinking about lifestyle. Lyric genuinely shines for someone who hates the daily ritual of hearing aid management, putting them in, taking them out, charging them, cleaning them, worrying about the battery life. Some patients find that burden very tiresome, and they wear their hearing aids less because of that. If that's you, the fit it and forget it approach of Lyric might mean you're actually going to get more consistent hearing benefit simply because you're wearing them all of the time instead of leaving them on the nightstand sometimes. And tinnitus. If nighttime tinnitus is destroying your sleep and standard hearing aids are not helping because you take them out at bedtime, Lyric deserves serious consideration as part of your broader treatment plan. On the other hand, if you're active in noisy environments every day, need Bluetooth, or have significant hearing loss, there are truly better options. Premium digital hearing aids will outperform Lyric in background noise. That's not saying anything bad about Lyric, it's just physics and processing power. So where does that leave us? The Phonak Lyric is a legitimately remarkable piece of technology doing something no other hearing aid can do. True invisibility, continuous wear, natural sound, leveraging your ear's own anatomy, and a meaningful advantage for tinnitus patients who struggle at night. But remember, it's not for everyone, and it's not a substitute for premium digital processing if your life demands it. The right answer, as always, depends on your specific hearing loss, your ear anatomy, your lifestyle, and your goals. What frustrates me is when I see someone who bought Lyric because it sounded impressive and they're in demanding, noisy places all day long and they struggle. Or when I see someone with serious nighttime tinnitus issues who've never even heard about Lyric as an option. Neither of these situations should happen without a thorough evaluation and honest conversation about what you actually need. If you're considering Lyric, drop me a comment and tell me what situations you struggle in most. Noise, sleep, phone calls, because that usually tells us which type of technology actually makes the most sense for you. And if you want to dig deeper into how different hearing technologies compare, I've put together a free online learning center with detailed, evidence-based information. You can find the link to that in the description. Lyric is not something you should choose based on a YouTube video, even this one. It requires a proper evaluation for your hearing loss, your anatomy, and your lifestyle. If you're here in Northern Utah and you want a real candidacy assessment, not a sales pitch, that's what we do at Timpanogos Hearing and Tinnitus. You can schedule appointments in our clinics along the Wasatch Front. The link is in the description. The goal is not to sell you Lyric. The goal is to get you hearing right.
A world of better hearing and relief from tinnitus is within reach, and we're here to help. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast right now and join us on the journey to clearer sound and a richer life. Thanks for listening to the All Ears Hearing and Tinnitus podcast with Dr. Layne Garrett. We'll see you next time.